Back in the day when the radio played and CDs spun our nights away. From grunge to grooves and R&B, 95 was the place to be. We're digging deep, 1 week at a time. Every album, every rhyme. It's more than music, it's a vibe. Come with us, let's take that ride. 52/1995. We're bringing that year back alive. From basement tapes to billboard highs, rewind the sound, relive the drive. Oh, 52/1995. Drop the needle, feel that jive. 1 year, 1 track at a time. Dive, yeah, let's dive. Spinning loud, feel the flash. Britpop dreams and alt rock crash. Hip-hop truth, electronic night. Every beat still burns so bright. 52/1995. It's not just songs, it's a time capsule dive. Talking tunes that shaped our lives. Tune and turn up and ride that high, yeah. 52/1995. Weekly drops, we keep it live. Let's rewind the vibe. One album every time.
Hey everybody, welcome into 52/1995, your live music conversation podcast for diving deep into the music of 1995. This is our first expansion into the 52 universe from our sister podcast, 52/1995 Movies. I am your host, Alyssa, and I'm here as always, joined by Cody, my fantastic co-host. Cody, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. We're here. And this is gonna put me in a better mood because
Good.
I like talking to you, and I like talking to you about music, and I like talking to the chat about music. So I am excited.
Good.
Good. Well, if you're here for the first time, welcome. Thanks for joining. We love to have you. Each week, if just to give you a little lowdown, the rundown of what we're doing here each week, 52 weeks in a year, right? We're going to talk about a different album from the year 1995. We're going to talk about the important releases of the year, as well as a couple, random ones, some quirky gems. Talk about them in detail. I'm going to chat with my guest about their thoughts and experiences with the music, the album, the artist, etc. And each month we do explore a different genre or theme in music. This is the last installment of our pop/dance month. So I say there were 4 Tuesdays in the month of May. This month is pop/dance. Today's album is Everything Is Wrong by Moby. So Cody, before we get into the album and talking about what we know about it and how we feel about it, I want to hear your thoughts. What are your first impressions? Have you heard this album before? Have you heard of Moby before? Give me a little bit of background.
So I don't really, again, like kind of what we've been talking about, this the past 3 weeks. This isn't really like my genre
Mhm.
of music, but I do know who Moby is. I have heard Moby songs before. There are even songs that I didn't realize were Moby songs until listening to this album, and I was like, oh, I know that song. I didn't realize it was Moby. But I think I enjoy Moby from afar is a way to say, not like
Mhm.
from afar, like I said, I've enjoyed songs that I found out are Moby songs.
Mhm.
And again, not my genre or anything, but like my recollection of actually realizing a Moby song is from his 99 album, which is
Mhm.
probably his like most famous album. I think it's called Play.
Mhm.
And there's a couple songs on there that I've heard on like various soundtracks that and one in particular, I think of one song that is off of, don't know why, but it's stuck with me, and it's solely based on the song,
Mhm.
and it's from the Gone in 60 Seconds soundtrack. That movie where Nicolas Cage and Angelina Jolie steal cars, and that's what it's about. I know you probably don't know that, but that's what it's about. But there is a song right at the beginning of this of that movie that is a Moby song, and that is my first, uh, I guess, foray into a Moby song. He's always kind of been a joke, a little bit too. Like he's in the Eminem song where he calls him the F word. So Eminem attacks him, and so I kind of know him from that. I know him because of him releasing his autobiography within the last few years. We just talked about that before we came on, and
Mhm.
him having a so-called relationship with Natalie Portman. I know him because he is a bald man with glasses, so he looks like Dean Pelton from Community, and he looks like this other actor out there that played a version of Dean Pelton from Community, which is also in an episode of How I Met Your Mother. So that's my Moby experience. I know I just talked forever about or how I know Moby, but that's how I know him. I only from this particular album did not know this album. There is a song on this album that I was like, oh, that's Moby. And that is my whole experience with Moby. So you got it.
That was the whole experience. You gave me every aspect of how you know Moby. And that's good. I don't know him at all. I've never heard of him. This is like you said, oh, I know him from soundtracks, or I've heard this, or I've known this song. This was completely net new to me, the same way last week was completely net new to me. Um, yeah, not someone I knew or listened to prior to this. I will say, kind of touching back on last week, and then like and talking about like first impressions. Um, the album I was something I loved about this album that we did not get last week, I feel. Because again, it's still in the electronic, trip hop, techno, dance music space. I'm not saying I don't know. Again, this is my ignorance of comparing Goldie to Moby. They're almost like the British and American versions of one another, I
Mm-hmm.
feel. Um, it's based on like just getting in like releasing solely because they're releasing albums in 1995, and they they're in the same genre. That's all the comparison I'm making. But something that we got, I feel like, in this album was that each song does like flow nicely into one another while still being separate songs. Like for the most part, there is the ability to like differentiate from song to song. There's different genres even within the dance genre of this album, and you can fully differentiate. Even if they flow well together, I'm like, okay, we're in a new song now. And that is something that was very much so lost, I feel like, with last week's album. That they all of a sudden I'd be like two song. I'm like, wait a second, when did the last song end and this new song start?
Yeah.
Um, I had a really hard time differentiating. And yeah, it was just kind of difficult. So for me from last week, we didn't really like last week's album as a general life statement. But this one was a little, I feel like, easier to differentiate. I feel like it was easier to listen to.
Mhm.
Obviously a lot shorter, right?
Yes. God,
It's
almost an hour and 15 minutes shorter.
yes. So a lot more digestible. Um,
Refreshing.
yes. after Timeless. But I really liked this. This was a pretty, like, I had a good time. A lot of the songs kind of as we talked about it like a little bit on the pod, that I danced growing up. Like, I was a theater kid, but I also was in dance classes. And when I was little, like growing up in the 90s, we would learn combinations and do them across the floor as practice. And for whatever reason, there were like multiple songs on this album that just gave me like like 90s remix dancing across the floor at the Linda Lucas dance studio when I was 7 years old. Like, I don't know, just that it was the vibe. It was very 90s, very not just dance in the club, but also like dance class heavy for me. So it was kind of nostalgic, even though I've never listened to Moby. The vibe itself was nostalgic for me, which I kind of had a fun time with.
Yeah, I'm excited actually to see which ones you were drawn to, because I feel like as I was making my list and going through it again, I was like, I think she likes this one and I don't like this one. Like, I felt like we might be on opposite ends here. Not that not that I didn't like that this album is so much, but like, I want to lower my Goldie score to like, I want to lower Jewel to like a half star, and like Goldie to a 1 star, and because this is so much better than
much better. Yeah,
but like, I don't want to put it too high.
Oh yeah, no,
it's still not my genre.
So I gave Jewel, I looked back at this today because I was like, I have to know. I gave Jewel a 2, and that was a generous 2. I would like to, and I think we're gonna have to go back and fix and adjust. Maybe we will, like, going towards the end of the year. I mean, we have.
Maybe we could do like we could do like a halfway point.
Oh yeah,
we get through 26 albums, and we're like, okay, here's where we stand halfway.
Yes, because I have a ranking, and I have a couple albums that have the same, like, they're like a couple 3 stars, but when they are ranked, they are in order of how I like them. Even if they're all 3 star, all 3 stars are not created equal. But yeah, I would love to go back to last week and retract the 2.75 I think I gave it, because I was trying to be polite. Trying to be polite to the genre. Because again, you and I both said last week, we are not techno people. We are not D&B and trip hop, and like, this is not a genre we know or listen to actively. So I was and this is the first full album that I have listened to in that space. So I was like, if this is the genre, I am not here to yuck somebody's yum. I think it is good for what it is. I mean, and again, it got rave reviews like back in the 90s. Then I heard Moby, and I went, this is far superior. This is way better. And again, it's not D&B. It's not in the same sub-genre of dance music. It's more in that trip hop techno space, as opposed to the D&B, the hi-hats that Timeless is. So they're not, again, I'm comparing apples to oranges in the sense that they're both fruits, but they're not the same. But
Goldie is a fruit. Goldie is the durian fruit of music.
Just put that on a t-shirt.
Jewel is a straight up vegetable that's just trying to hide out with the other fruits. Goldie is a fruit that I don't want any part of. Is a fruit that somebody's like, it tastes good, I promise. And I'm like, no, it's not.
No, it doesn't.
No, it smells like a dead person.
Yeah, this is, I think, the first time on this pod that I mean, obviously we've shit on Jewel like this the entire year, but this is the first time that we are going back, and after listening to another album, actively going backwards and going, I retract last week's statements after gaining more knowledge, which is fine. And that's good to, you're allowed to change your mind once you gain more knowledge. And that's what we did this week. And I'm like, yeah, Goldie, Timeless, not for us.
And I don't think we're probably going to keep going down this genre either. Like, we were a little bit more interested in Britpop when we got into that. And we're like, oh, what else can we find? Or, hey, let's watch a documentary. I'm not going to watch any documentary about this kind of music.
Nah, probably not. Not for me. Well, are you ready to learn some fun facts, some details about the album?
Teach me about Moby, please.
The details. Will do. So again, the title of this week's album is Everything Is Wrong by Moby. It is 13, a great album title, by the way.
How did he know?
How did he know? It is 13 songs long, a whopping 46 minutes. So way better than last week's nearly 2-hour album. A little bit about Moby. So his name is actually Richard Melville Hall, full name. Richard Hall is an American musician, songwriter, record producer, DJ, and animal rights activist. That is a very big part of who Moby is, and that's why we have to name it. It's also a very big part of this album. So we'll get into that when we talk about like inspiration in the background. To date, he has sold over 20 million records worldwide. All Music is the name of the group or publication, considers him to be, quote, among the most important dance music figures of the early 1990s, helping bring dance music to a mainstream audience, both in the United States and the United Kingdom. Now, this album that we're talking about today did receive like wide critical acclaim. Like critics love this album, but he didn't really gain much commercial success until, as you mentioned earlier, the 1999 album. And the reason for that is because it was licensed out to so many different movies and TV shows and was able to be used in media. That's how people typically know him, from that album in particular, and being in different movies. Which we've kind of been talking about that this whole time, about how some of these songs sound so cinematic that it's not something that I would necessarily like sit down and listen to an album of, but I would love to put a Bjork song or a Moby song in the background of an action scene. And you said you've seen it in an action scene, so or in a movie. So that's really cool. A little fun fact: he took up guitar and piano at age of 9. So he is not just a DJ, but a good musician. But he was in several underground punk rock bands in the 80s before he turned to electronic dance music, which I thought was fun. And again, a genre that you and I are a little more acquainted with. Yeah. And I also feel like you can see some of those influences in this albums. And I am sure we will get into that. This is in terms of this album, Moby, this is his 3rd studio album, but he feels like this was his first legitimate album. That's like a quote from him. He's like, I get to create something that's like I'm really serious about. It's going to have all of my influences in it. He later described Everything Is Wrong as a record that almost served as a lifeboat for the songs I cared most about. Not noting that he attempted to cover as many musical styles as possible, not out of, quote, trying to be eclectic, but just because I was in love with all of the genres and I felt this may be the only chance to make a record. So he's like, I saw an opportunity, I took it. He didn't, this kind of job can go away instantly. So he's like, let's do it. This is for the love of music, for the love of genres, for the love of all different types of sound. And again, you really, really, really see the influence here. In terms of what inspired or what this album's kind of about, the album itself has extensive accompanying liner notes. So he wrote essays and excerpts about vegetarianism, veganism, environmentalism, animal experiments. Again, very strong animal rights activist. This is another quote. He says, at the time I was and still am a vegan and an animal rights activist, really militant in all my beliefs. So I would wake up really angry every day and sleep angry every night because I thought the world was in terrible shape. And I thought, what small thing can I do to express my beliefs that the world is in such terrible shape? And that's where the title of the album came from. So that's where the song comes from, where the title of the album comes from. Again, inside the album's booklet, there's a literal booklet that has all of these like essays. There's a quotes section. And again, all of these like things that he's like just trying to express that I'm going to be honest, did not get from the music. I did not know any of this. Now, again, these are like almost in supplement to the music. These are essays and paragraphs and excerpts written in junction that came with the album. It's not like they are in side by side with one another. But I thought that was really interesting because I listened to the album. Again, I always say I try to listen to the album first, then I do my research because I want to go in blind. I want to go in unimpacted. And I thought that was really interesting that as I didn't know anything about Moby, didn't know his inspiration or like his angst or anger and to why he wanted to put this album out in the first place. It's partially his love of all genres of music and also partially because he's pissed off at the world and how, animals are treated specifically. So again, don't really get that in the album itself, but I find that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I think it's so hard to get to interpret somebody's music, like, or art, I guess, unless you had those commentaries or those liner notes with them. So like us, we're not reading the liner notes. Maybe, that's something we would look into, but I don't want to.
I am.
uh,
No. If I know that there is commentary that goes along with an album, I am into it. Like
yeah.
it's a very Taylor Swift thing to do.
But without lyrics in this, like
Right.
you could take a Taylor Swift song, and we haven't talked about her in a while. You could take a Taylor Swift song, you can look at the lyrics, you can then read liner notes or essays or whatever it is and be like, oh, I got it. I get it.
Mhm.
You can interpret that how you want. With something like this, you're listening to a song like, God Moving Over the Face of the Waters, like you don't have any lyrics at all.
Right.
And so you're just sitting there left to it. You don't even have a visual. You don't have like a movie behind it or anything like that. And you are just kind of like, maybe this is what it like. The only thing we have to interpret is his title of it and then what he puts out in front of us. So it's hard to get that from this unless you do read those essays.
That's true. That is true. Because again, you're right. You can interpret lyrics lots of different ways. And it's like we talked about lyrics a lot when we talked about Oasis, where people want, like, for the Champagne Supernova, people want to assign meaning to it, and the lead singers were like, yeah, we were just drunk and high and just wanted to
just messing around,
just fucking around, and like that's how we got that song, which is crazy. And so it's like sometimes you think lyrics are meaningful and they're actually meaningless. Sometimes you have an album that has zero lyrics and it turns out it's full of meaning. So it's very interesting. I do like that. I like the explanation though, because sometimes we just get an album and it's not like void of content. But it's like, this is songs I put out because I wanted to sing them and I wanted to get money.
Yep.
Like, which is like, no shade. It's just, that's what your job is. You put out songs, you get money, whatever. But when someone is really trying to do something with their art and they're like really like like it's almost like going to a museum. Like if I go to an art museum, I can look at this big, beautiful abstract painting and I can have my interpretation of it, or I can even see, like, I like the colors, I like the shapes, whatever. But then there's that little plaque that's off to the side that explains to you what the artist was trying to do. That's the thing. And like that, I think maybe that's maybe a more close comparison to what these particular notes are, these liner notes.
Yeah.
As looking at a painting.
Did you read any? Did you get a chance to read any of them? No.
I did not, unfortunately.
That's okay. I was just curious.
Nope. I did not. I'm sure they're on the internet somewhere.
I'm sure.
They came with the album, but I didn't even think to go, let me go find those. I just was like, cool, and then moved on. But it did chart, by the way. This album did chart, not like super high. It did hit number 21, both in the United States and in the UK. It went silver in the UK. And by 2022, the album had sold over 180,000 copies in the United States. And then there was a remix album that actually went gold in the UK, which I thought was interesting. That the remix album did better than the actual album.
Did that come out? That came out the following year, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So maybe it's because it was already popular, or it was people already liked it and they went out and bought the remix more. I don't know. Either way, so it did have an impact, just not like much of a commercial one, but again, very high critical acclaim from musical reviewers. Just not so much in the commercial space. Yeah. I don't have a top 20 album, so he does. So.
Maybe someday.
Oh yeah, that's certainly someday. Well, I do want to know what songs you were drawn to. I took a lot of notes, so but I'm interested to see what stuck out to you.
I took some notes on some of the other songs, just like little sentence, like a little tiny thing when I was listening through. But the songs that really struck, the ones that really stuck out to me, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them.
Okay.
All That I Need Is to Be Loved,
Mm-hmm.
Bring Back My Happiness,
Okay.
What Love,
Uh-huh.
First Cool Hive, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and God Moving Over the Face of the Waters.
Yeah, I had all of those, and Every Time You Touch Me was the only other one that I had.
I wrote a note about it, about Every Time You Touch Me. I also wrote a little thing on Feeling So Real, and I wrote something on Into the Blue as well. But
I actually put Feeling So Real and All That I Need Is to Be Loved together.
mhm.
Because I found them to be very similar in sound.
Okay. See, I felt, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, tell me about All That I Need Is to Be Loved.
So this was the first one on the album that I felt like we really got some of that punk influence from.
Yep.
I think there are two really on the album that are like heavily punk influenced. And when I say punk, I'm talking about punk music. I'm talking like the Germs. I'm talking about like the late 70s, early 80s, Circle Jerks, all that kind of stuff, punk music. And that I haven't listened to or know where Moby's punk cred lies, but I'm assuming it's probably from those kind of roots. I mean, he's been around forever. He's like, what, 60? 60? 60?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's 60 years old. So it makes sense, and that kind of lines up with that. But yeah, this was the first one that I felt like Feeling So Real was more of that D&B
Yeah.
influence, and the only thing I wrote on that is this is way better than Goldie. And I think it's probably because it has an end. I was just like, this one, it's short and it gets to the point and it gives me that, and it gives me all of the D&B stuff that I was getting last week from Goldie, but I was like, I enjoy this so much better. This is not like, it changes enough. It's short enough. It's not 20 minutes of the same freaking beat over and over. I didn't feel like I needed to do drugs to understand why this was good. But no, getting into that, All That I Need Is to Be Loved, I felt like it was something unexpected.
Yeah.
And I liked that. And I think that's why it stuck out to me the most.
Yeah, still heavily, you say heavily punk influenced, but still a dance tune.
Yeah.
This felt chaotic in a way that I was like, it felt like anxiety. Like there was like there's a little bit of lyrics in this one, like not too many, but I feel like it gives the feeling of anxiety or desperation in a way that, and I also wrote "Gotta Go Fast," like gotta go fast. I was just like, like I feel like I gotta run to this stuff. Like it's giving that high energy, almost anxiety inducing pace of a.
And there's something in the back, like it's very heavily like distorted guitar. But there's something in the background. I don't know what it is. It almost like it's a weird sounding. Obviously, I think it's probably an electronic instrument or something that's in the background, but it almost sounds like people like,
yeah. That's maybe why I was like, what's going on? I was like, oh, this is a little stressful. Not in a bad way though. Like I was like stressful in the sense that there's a lot happening.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And I think that, I don't know, I thought it really well. Like there was almost a Violent Femmes like vocals in it. If you know anything about like Blister in the Sun, the song Blister in the Sun, all I need is to be loved. That's that's what the lyrics are in this song. I really like that part of it. And I don't know, again, refreshing. Like it's so weird to say this is a refreshing song. After Goldie, but or any of this stuff, but I was like, oh, this is different. And sometimes different is good. And I don't know, I was really drawn to that. This one's a fun song.
It is
probably one of my top, if out of my 5, this one was very close to being my favorite one on the album.
Okay. That's fair. It is fun. It's got that high energy, like, and you're right. And the thing I like about this album so much is that all the songs feel different. Like yes, they're in the
Yes.
genre of dance, but again, there's a song that has a punk influence. There's songs that have like a bouncy. I wrote "Bring Back My Happiness" has a bouncy piano. I just
Yeah.
wrote bouncy piano. I like the sound of this one. Like and then there's like God Moving Over the Face of the Water is like completely different than the entire album. Like
Yeah.
it is, but it all still feels cohesive.
Yeah,
Like different doesn't mean it doesn't mean disjointed.
right. I think there are a couple punk songs on there. I feel like there are a couple like I don't know how to describe there's like these techno Euro songs on here
Yeah.
that I feel like I wasn't necessarily drawn to. Like Every Time You Touch Me gave me that like techno Euro feeling.
Yeah.
Like I think even in the lyrics of that song, it's like they don't make sense and they sound like they're spoken by somebody who is not an English speaker, like a native English speaker, because it's like I get very excited. You know, have you ever seen that guy on TikTok that does like the parody songs of like European techno from the 90s?
I don't think so.
I mean, he's got to be making fun of this kind of song because
Probably.
that's all this is. I think it's called Planet of the Bass is what that song's called.
Okay. That's funny.
But I wasn't drawn to those kind of songs.
Yeah, the Every Time You Touch Me, I wrote that what it feels like when I think of dance music.
Yes.
When I think of dance music, I think of Every Time You Touch Me.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
Very European. And
Very European.
And I'm not European, only in looks.
Well, did you have Bring Back My Happiness? Did you like that one?
I did. I had that one. And it was great that you said the thing about the piano because I said love the piano in this one. That's my little note. But I also said it feels like music that goes behind an RPG battle. And
I literally wrote it sounds like a song in DDR. Like Dance Dance Revolution, the game,
yeah.
When you're like the stomping game. I was like, so we're both in video game mode.
We're in the video game. I put JRPG battle. So I was actually going to be like, hey, you remember playing Kingdom Hearts, right?
Yes.
And you're like, yeah, this is where you say, when you say, yeah, I played Kingdom Hearts. And I'm like, okay, when you get into battle, there is a certain music that's playing in the background. That is what this song is.
Which is also kind of what Dance Dance Revolution sounds like. It's just like, and there's one song in particular that I always used to dance to because we had a plastic mat that we hooked up to the PlayStation, and it was a Beethoven song, but it was like a Japanese rendering of a and it was crazy.
That the only thing I ever danced to is Sandstorm, always.
That was my senior year song. My graduating high school class. Our class song was Sandstorm.
I mean, senior songs are dumb. I was getting ready to shit on you in your senior class for having that, but mine was Closing Time by Semisonic.
I said they're all lame, but
they're all lame.
Sandstorm's a wild choice.
I love it. No lyrics.
In the realm that we're talking about today.
Yeah. So yeah, that was it.
What Love was that one I felt almost felt screamo to me.
It's very punk to me.
Yeah.
And this one also, not to spoil like some of my pairing, but this one felt like Rob Zombie.
Okay.
Do you know that song Dragula?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what the vocalist sound like to me. Sounds a lot like Rob Zombie in this. It gave me Rob Zombie vibes. It also made me want to play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater really bad. I love this.
Again, having like the background, it's a great background song for something visually, whether it's a video game or a movie scene. Like that's what these songs kind of do for you.
This song, like, I swear, I wish I could figure out what song on Tony Hawk Pro Skater would fit with this, but I can't think of it right now. It's probably like, I don't know. Don't worry about it. Don't look up anything. But I was surprised because this is one of the ones on like Spotify that has like the least amount of plays.
Uh-huh.
Maybe this is like the most unlike Moby song that there is. Like
Maybe. There's
this
a lot of
has the fewest amount of plays on
oh
Spotify.
wow.
of
I say
his.
it has like distorted vocals. That just says "What Love" repeatedly.
Yeah.
The grungy guitar too, like that changes tempo. Like maybe this just isn't for the Moby fan.
Yeah, I'm thinking that they came into this thinking that they were getting, gonna get some dance music, and then they got this like serious punk song that
Yeah, and they're like, what?
dope as
It
hell.
is very fun. A lot of these songs are fun.
I'm gonna find it. I'll let everybody know.
I said for first Cool Hive, speaking of fun, the bass to start. That's my favorite part, but it's also like a way more chill song. Like
Yes.
you go from this like grunge, like you said, Rob Zombie-esque punk screamo thing to this like cool bass that's super chill. That's like also just gives more of a 90s vibe than some of these other songs.
Does
And
this song remind you of like again, we're very 90s with this song. But like,
yes.
does it give you the vibe of like you're in a dark like coffee house? Like, and you're just kind of like walking through the coffee house looking for somebody. That's kind of what I got.
I like that. I was giving like walking by the beach. Like
Oh, you're
just
in a
kind of
completely different setting.
I'm a complete but it's again, you're walking. It's
We're
very
both
like
walking here.
yeah, it's just like very cool, very chill, just vibing. Like or just kind of like moving through space. Like
Mhm.
that's I guess where the vibe it gives me, whether it's a coffee shop, the beach, just the city, the world, just moving through space effortlessly, just kind of like not a care in the world kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Fun fact about that. This is the Moby song that I knew that I did not
Okay.
know that I knew.
Okay.
Because
Nice.
this song plays at the end of Scream, the movie Scream.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this is like as everything has ended in Scream, no spoilers, but everything has ended in Scream, and this song starts playing, and one of the characters is reporting on what just happened over there. So she's talking over this, and I was like, I know that song. So
That's always the most fun when you're like, I know this. Like, it's always
yes,
a good time.
I was so excited when I was like, why do I know this? And I was like, Scream. So a little 52 movies there for you.
Love it.
I think we got some Scream fans in the chat.
Probably.
Probably.
Um, so tell me what you think about God moving over the face of water.
This was kind of what you said early. Like, it's so completely different from the rest of the album. I think maybe like Him, the very first one, might be the closest to this song, but this one gives us it's 7 minutes. I don't feel like it took like I listened to it. I do not feel like it was 7 minutes long.
Agreed.
It felt much shorter than that. I really like how it builds on each instrument. It starts out really simple. Even with the piano. The piano part starts out very simplistic, just a few notes, and then the piano gets a little bit more frenetic with hitting a little bit more keys and everything, and then it brings in the strings, and then it brings in another set of strings, and like gets even grander. And I think they add in some percussion at and like I just really like how the elements just kept getting added all the way up until the end. This one feels the most cinematic to me. This one feel like, I don't know. This one I was just like, I could relax to this song.
Yes. It felt the most like a symphony. Like, and it's relating it back to, again, 52 movies again. We just watched Mr. Holland's Opus. And, just the different, there's the percussions, there's the strings, there's this first, this comes in, this comes in. I loved how it starts out slow. It picks up with the triplets, and I love a violin. I'm a sucker for a violin. And then you get this big bass drum, and it's just it builds and builds and builds and builds. And it's just again, you said similar to him, and I think the last song on the album too is kind of
A little
similar.
bit.
Just a little more chill in vibe,
Yes.
but it's totally different than anything else on the album. And I think it's a testament to how good Moby is at producing, at creating music, like to be able to write and create multiple songs across multiple, I'll say platform or genres, to be able to create God Moving Over the Face of Water and First Cool Hive and All That I Need Is to Be Loved. And that's all from the same person. I think that shows talent. I think that's pretty impressive to write three songs that are good, that sound completely different from one another.
And he put something together, like those three songs, and I'm like, did this guy ever, could he possibly put together an entire like score of, for a movie or anything? I mean, you're putting together 45 minutes of music here, but like with songs like that, like it does feel cinematic. And I know songs of his have been used before,
Yes.
but I don't know if he's done like a full score or anything.
I don't think he's done a full score, but it's not just. I think he's actually written for movies.
Mhm.
He's like credited for writing at movies, not just like taking one of his songs from his '99 album and putting it in a movie. Like, yeah, I think he has written for movies specifically.
Yeah, I love that, and I don't know. I'm I'm into movies and everything, but I'm such a sucker for songs like this that put me and like give me visuals and can even tell a story. Like I'm telling my own story in my head. I mentioned this with Radiohead, and that's something that Radiohead does very well, especially when they get into their more electronic part. I know you weren't the biggest fan, and we weren't the biggest fans of Radiohead, but like the further they get into their discography, you get more of this. And like I said, I play out music videos in my head that don't exist when I'm listening to music like this. And this is the same kind of vibe.
Yeah. And again, just the title, God Moving Over the Face of the Water, like it sets you up. That's the thing I do like about it's like the opposite of a Fall Out Boy album.
Yeah.
Fall Out Boy song. Fall Out Boy song is just so completely off the charts from what the song is going to be about. It doesn't even matter. It's just for funsies. But this, it's almost like setting you up. Be like, hey, this is the vibe I'm going for. God Moving Over the Face of the Water. Go. And you can, like you said, play out in your mind based on the instruments he's using, what is happening in front of you, even though it doesn't actually exist.
Yeah. And I think like I wonder if these are the songs that he's talking, like that he's having his, I don't know, crisis, his everything is wrong part. Like, what story is he trying to tell with these songs? That's the ones that I'm curious about, because there are no lyrics at all.
Exactly.
And so I'd be interested to maybe read a little bit more and be like, okay, what was he thinking whenever he wrote God Moving Over the Face of the Waters? So
good. So what was your favorite song?
God Moving Over the Face of the Waters.
Same.
That's my favorite song. Yeah.
I also put Every Time You Touch Me as a second, but God Moving Over the Face of the Water is a banger.
Yeah, I think my second is what did I say? All That I Need Is to Be Loved. Yeah, I think that's probably my second favorite.
Makes sense.
On that.
What about a least favorite?
We didn't talk about how Into the Blue sounds like Linger. But
I forgot.
You and I both said it yesterday when we were listening to her, like, Linger?
Oh, like it sounds like Linger. It does. Is that your least favorite?
No, it's not.
Oh.
Anthem is my least favorite.
Okay, why Anthem?
Honestly, okay. To be honest, I didn't have a song on here that I was just like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
Or I never want to hear this again or anything. I think I picked Anthem just because it is that style of music that I do not like gravitate towards. It lends itself toward that Every Time You Touch Me, or was that Feeling So Real, like the actual dance music, which I'm just like, this one just sounds like every other dance song I've ever heard in my life. So
fair.
That's why it's my least favorite. That's what I put on.
That's okay.
What about you?
I actually picked Everything Is Wrong. I picked the title track, mostly because it was like I feel like it was the least exciting.
Yeah, nothing really happens.
It felt like I almost skipped over it. I was like, wait, that was the song. That was it. Like, it just kind of surprised me for it being the title track and for being like kind of a good title track. I was like, maybe I had too high of expectation for it, especially since it's towards the end of the album. And again, we've got so much fun, or we had so much good up till this point. Something just like, again, playing with genre, interesting choices, and then all of a sudden it kind of fell flat for me.
Yeah, the only thing I took it as, one, it was so short that I was like, I'm not gonna knock it unless it, unlike that Mariah Carey one where I was like, yeah, that's easy. That it had nothing
Mhm.
to do with it. But I was like, oh, everything is wrong, kind of goes into uh kind of moves us into God moving over the face of the water. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But
Fair.
you're absolutely right. It doesn't do much. It's just there.
Mhm.
So
I did not pick a favorite lyric.
I did.
Okay.
I went with lyrics from When It's Cold, I'd Like to Die, which is
Okay.
a badass title. The lyrics are, I don't want to fight the tide. I don't want to swim forever. When it's cold, I'd like to die. What was that? My sweet, sweet nothing. I thought that was kind of cool and
That is
sad.
pretty cool. And yes,
It's sad and depressing, but I was, that's where I was when
you're like, I get it.
I get it. I'm cold. I want to die.
It's like, instead of being cold, I'd just rather die
I would
than be
just
cold.
rather die. No, I would rather die. If I would change this song to when it's hot, like when I'm sweating, I'd like to die.
Mhm.
That's my version of this.
I agree.
You can always put more clothes on. You can't always take clothes off.
Agreed. It's way better to be cold.
That's right.
Well, tell me your music pairings. You have music pairings.
So I picked a couple things in here. I picked Final Fantasy 10,
Okay.
um, Hans Zimmer,
Hans Zimmer.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and Rob Zombie. Those are my pairings.
Those are all over the place. I love those all so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. What about you?
Uh, so mine is a very niche pairing.
You did
Shocking, I
this
know.
last week. Yeah.
I know. This is even worse. It there again, I told you, it reminded me of the songs I used to dance to when I was a kid. Like,
Mhm.
again, we and um the again, getting into like Europe, we had an Enya remix album that we would play and dance across the floor to. So the
Mhm.
Enya remixes.
Enya, I used to joke that Enya had a greatest hits album called All Up Enya.
She should have.
She should have, or
She has
Enya
a
Face.
Enya. That was
It's-
that was really the only pairing I had. Is that all I? And then I can't again. We talked about like DDR playing video games. Like, that's maybe what I would actually pair it with, is
Mhm.
like, go play video games and listen to Moby. Like, that sounds like a good evening. Rather than take cocaine and go listen to Goldie, you just go play video games and listen to Moby.
Do you remember, now that you've brought Enya up, do you
Fantastic.
remember
Let's go.
do you remember an infomercial that was like Enya? It was like a compilation album, but it was
Okay.
all like it was like soft music like Enya and like tribal music, and it was like almost like world music is what
Okay.
I I would die. I need to find that on
I'm sure it
YouTube.
exists.
There's got to be a YouTube version of this commercial, this infomercial, but it's the ay 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 ay. That song's on there, and I wish I could remember what it was called, but that's gonna stick out for the remainder of my life. I never ordered that album, but I remember that infomercial very
Mhm.
much, and
Oh
Enya's a
yeah.
big part of that.
Oh yeah. For sure.
But I think that song not Into the Blue. No, First Cool Hive. I think that would fit very nicely on an album like that.
Like, there you go. There's
It gives me that.
put it on a playlist.
Maybe I will. Don't tempt me with a good time.
Well, would you recommend this album to a friend?
Yeah, sure. I think so. Like, I would definitely recommend this way more than Goldie. If somebody was like, I'm trying to get into some dance music, where would you recommend I start? I'd be like, start with Moby. He's great. Like, there's some good stuff on here. There's some good, like, I feel like it gives you all genres, or it's hitting on a lot more than just not like house and techno and all that stuff. So I was like, yeah, this one seems fun and could give you an idea of like what is possible under this genre of electronic music.
That's fair. I
What
actually
about?
said I wouldn't recommend it
Okay.
to. No, I liked it. I liked this album a lot. I liked it way better than last week's album. I also didn't recommend last week's album. But I can't think of a situation because I think for the exact reason that you said you would recommend it is because if someone's like, I'm trying to get into like dance electronica music, this album is it plays so much with genre that this is not the stereotype that I would send someone to.
Okay. Yeah.
Like,
I
I don't
love
know
it.
if this is a good starter point. Like, if I'm like, hey, listen to this other album, these other two albums first, and then check out Moby. Or
Mhm.
maybe I say, check out Moby's 1999 album, and then you can dive into the 1995 album. But yeah, I can't really think of a space where I'm like, yeah, you should listen to this.
Return to or Pure Moods, by the way, is the album title that I was trying to find.
Pure moods.
I'm
Love
gonna that's what I'm gonna listen to while cooking dinner.
Fantastic.
Pure Moods,
There's
baby.
there's no, that's a far too much of a tangent. There's a album called Celtic Moods, and that's
Ooh,
just
no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
and he is
Celtic
also
Moods?
on it.
I think it's the same. It's got to be the same people that put this out.
Probably just all this mood music.
And I used to. Okay, more tangent. I don't care. Whatever.
This is our podcast.
This is our podcast. The Celtic Moods came out in 1995, by the way. Why aren't we doing it? Who knows? Because it's a compilation album and was sold on TV. Anyway, did you ever go into stores and they would have sometimes music stores, but like bookstores, but they would have this section that was all this like Celtic music and all this, and it had buttons that you could push and it would play that music.
Oh yeah.
It was
Oh,
in
yeah.
it was in our Walmart. I did it there. It was in our Christian bookstore. I did it there. I did it everywhere I could because I was a menace.
It was fun. You got to push buttons.
Yeah, I love pushing buttons.
You do love pushing buttons.
I do.
Literal and figurative.
It's right. I'm like Plucky Duck from Tiny Toon Adventures.
Oh, Lucky Duck. So cute.
I am cute.
You are cute. Speaking of being cute, nothing to do with being cute. What's your 5-star rating?
I give it 3 stars
Nice.
because I'm lowering all my other ones and I'm putting this one at 3 stars.
Yes. I think I put this at, I think, again, I take last week's Jewel, it becomes a 1.5. Moby, not Moby, Goldie becomes a 2. This becomes my 2.75.
Okay. I
So
like it.
again, I'm not at like a 3. I enjoyed it.
I'm not
I
coming
think
back to it.
I'm not coming back to it. And again, like we said, not really our genre, like one
Yeah.
that we are drawn to. I'm still like reflecting on this month, like Mariah Carey was a strange choice. I thought it would make more sense, but it doesn't. But I think Mariah Carey was a great album. I love Bjork. Like I keep thinking about the Bjork album, even if I
Really?
don't, I do, even if I don't go back to, I mean, I still like the It's Oh So Quiet, but I keep thinking about it. It has left an impression. But these last two, I'm like, they're fine. Not for me.
See, I kind of feel how you're saying about Bjork about this album to where like,
Mhm.
especially like those punk songs that I was like, oh, this is good. Like I like this. And they like are sticking with me. I don't know.
That's good. No, we're allowed to have different thoughts on the month.
No, we're
But
not.
it was a weird month. But
Was a weird month. This was a
I-
weird month. But I mean, I'm glad we did it.
well, I did mention, we mentioned at the top of the month too, that like pop/dance, like there really was not a lot of popular pop
Mhm.
that we could pick from this year. So Mariah Carey had to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So this is where she went. Yeah, interesting, kind of weird, kind of cool. Again, taking a dive into a genre that neither of us have a lot of experience with.
Mm-mm.
We got a little international with it.
Yeah, we did. We got a little crazy.
Well, Christ's sake.
A little crazy.
Anything else? Anything to add?
Um, I get it. I get Moby. Like, I don't get Goldie. I get Moby.
I
And
agree.
I get why there are fans of Moby.
hmm
I don't get the Goldie thing.
Shout out to the Moby fans.
Maybe it's just because I'm so American.
Maybe.
Moby till I die.
USA, USA, USA.
That's right.
That's when we start to talk about like garage music, and we're like, we know nothing, but there's a whole genre there that we know nothing about.
There's a lot of genres I don't know anything about.
True. Same. That's why we do this podcast.
That's right.
Thank you, Cody, for joining us today, for chatting us up, for reviewing the album with us. Before we wrap up, do you have any recent music recommendations? Anything that you've been listening to that you would like the people to know about?
You know, you do this every time to me, and should be prepared, but I'm only prepared like 50% of the time for this.
It's okay if you don't.
I should expect it, like.
I mean, this is the same script every week.
I know. I should expect it, but I don't. And
I mean, that's the other, if you have nothing, or not nothing, but like, I don't have anything new to add. I've just been listening to 2000s pop punk for the last like 4 days.
I guess I threw on the 90s radio the other day, but that's about it.
Yeah, we're just going back to the favorites,
Mm-hmm.
Especially
we were sitting out on the porch, we're listening to our playlist. Like, yeah, we're not trying to find something new now.
No.
It's summertime.
It's summertime. I just want the stuff that I like, and I want to sit on my porch and enjoy it.
Just listen to Sabrina Carpenter over and over again.
We do like Sabrina Carpenter. She is a fun time. For all the Swiftie clowns out there, Reputation TV was not announced last night because, of course, it wasn't. It wasn't going to be. You nonsense people. I love you dearly. And by nonsense people, I mean myself. But I get that's okay.
I think she's gonna I think she's gonna put it out on a just random.
I think we're gonna have 24 hours notice. That's my guess.
She's gonna put it out on Tidal, and that's it.
That's why she's been hanging out with Beyonce so much.
She's like, how much more money can I make off of this project? I'm gonna release 10 multicolored vinyls and CDs. I'm gonna release one in random Walmarts and put some in Targets and put some. She's gonna just make everybody earn it.
Oh yeah, but either way, she's
gonna put one out on Skims website, so you can buy your underwear and a Taylor Swift album, and to get back at Kim Kardashian.
I was gonna say they hate each other. I
know, but this is not now. Maybe not now. Maybe they understand each other more.
They join forces.
Yeah,
against
to
Kanye.
Take down Kanye, who's no longer a Nazi.
Since when?
He came out this past week and he said, "I talked to my kids. I'm done being anti-Semitic." So everybody can go back to listening to Kanye again.
What an unwell man.
To my kids, I'm not anti-Semitic anymore.
I
wish this was like, I wish I was embellishing the quote a little.
I did say earlier that you are allowed to change your mind once you get new information.
That's right.
This is information he has had the whole time, but I digress. If there's one less anti-Semitic person in the world, we will take it.
That's right.
Fuck that dude. I don't care. College Dropout was fine. Okay. Not enough for me to want to go back to continue listening to it after being a bad person. Anyway. If you are interested in getting more information about our podcast and our crazy opinions, and not about Kanye, or just about the 52 universe in general, we have a Discord server that we'd love for you to join. We also have our Instagram that you can follow us on. Either way, we post a lot of information in both spots. So if you want to hear from us, those are the places to join. Next week starts a new month. It is June. We're not doing the pod on our regular Tuesday next week. We're still trying to figure out. Again, we got some traveling for work happening, so we will have the pod next week. Just won't be on Tuesday. But we are starting a new month, which means a new genre or new theme. And next month's theme is debut albums. So albums that are the very first album for famous artists. Let's say this is their coming of age, their debut, right? So our first debut album that we are covering is Blink 182's Cheshire Cat. So again, everybody knows Blink 182, but they might not know their debut album. So that is who we're kicking things off with next week. You can listen to that wherever you stream music. But that's all I got for you. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Cody, thank you so much for joining and being here. We will see y'all next time on 52/1995 Music.
This is the outro.